this. All right, so thank you guys so much. We are going to be finishing the book, The 48 Laws of Power. I cannot believe it. So this one, it's going to be a long one. So grab your paper, and some water, and some popcorn, whatever you want to snack on, because it's going to be a 15 chapter review. All right, we're starting off on chapter 34. I'm going to go right on into it, and we're just going to go from there. We're going to sandwich. So Hannah's going to take over a few, and then I'm going to take it over at the end. So here we go. I'm going to start off the chapter in Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiment in others. By acting regular and confident of your powers, you will make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. This one I really took just like being like confident in what you are and who you are and what you have to like come to it. But the keys to this power: we accept limitations that are self-imposed. The solution is to deliberately force ourselves in the opposite direction, downplay the failures and ignore the limitations, make ourselves demand and expect as much as a child. The strategy of the crown is based on a simple chain of cause and effect. If we believe we are destined for great things, our belief will radiate outward, which will infect the people around us, who will think we must have reasons to feel so confident. Be overcome by your self-belief, even while you know you are practicing a kind of deception on yourself. Act like a king. You are likely, or queen, okay? You are likely to be treated as one. Always act with dignity, no matter the circumstance. That actually hits really hard. That goes back into a couple of chapters that we were talking, or a couple of laws, how it was like taking ownership and taking like responsibility of how you respond to things, you know? So always act with dignity, no matter the circumstance. Outward strategies to project a royal demeanor: make a hold demand. Set your price high and do not waver. Okay, I took that one serious this month. I was like, these are my prices and this is what I charge. If you want that, this is what it is. And let me tell you what, like, people have been respecting that. Like, they have been respecting the fact that like my time means something, you know? So put your foot down and hold your boundaries firm, like of who you are and like what you improve to be. Okay, there we go. I almost lost the next law, which is a good one. Law number 35, master the art of timing. So never seem to be in a hurry. Hurrying betrays the lack of control over yourself and over time. Always seem patient, as if you know that everything will come to you eventually. Become a detective of the right moment. Sniff in the spirit of the times, the trends that will carry you to the power. Learn to stand back when the time is yet ripe, and strike fiercely when it is time for the fruition. Keys to this power: time is an artificial concept created by humans. Since it is human constructed, we can mold it to some degree and play with tricks with it. Time depends on perception, which we can alter. If the inner turmoil caused by our emotions tends to make time move faster, it follows, I can hear my kids running amok. It follows that once we control our emotion responses to events, that we will move much more slowly. Actually, I think they're playing with the dogs. Never mind. This altered way of dealing with things tends to lengthen our perception of future time, opens up possibilities that fear and anger close off, and allows us to be patient. That is the requirement of timing. So there are 3 different kinds of time: long time, forced time, and end time. So long time is the draw out years, you know, like long years of time. But we still have like managed to have some kind of patience with that and like grace, like you know, think about your birthday every year, right? We still are like, it's every year. We know it's going to happen every year. We're anticipating it, right? When you're forced the pace out of the fear and impatience, you create the nest of problems that require fixing, and you end up taking much longer if you had taken your time. Sometimes not acting in the face of danger is your best move. You wait and deliberately slow down. When your mind is uncluttered by constant emergencies, you will see further into the future. You will also be able to resist the bait people dangle in front of you. You will also have room for flexibility. You will not move from one deal to another without completing the first one. Number 2, which was force time, the short term that we manipulate as weapons, right? Like upsetting our timing of the opponents. Like, when you're playing, was that one game with the sticks and they're fighting? I can't remember. Whatever. When you're think about like in sports, right? When you have an opponent and you mess them up on what they're thinking that they're going to do, and you end up scoring, for example, let's just like say that it's soccer, and you're fencing. That's what it was. Girl, you read my mind. I love it. Okay, yeah. So it's something, let's think about sports, right? If it's sports and you outdo your opponent in that, it's a force time. So that's something that like forces them to change up game, right? Anyways, make them wait, make them hurry, make them abandon their own pace, and make them question their own perception of time. The deadline of this type is force type. Number 3 is end time, when a plan must be executed, speed enforced. So that's basically with something that has like an end date, like for people who might be in Mod 8 for us. Like if you don't do your renewal, then you'll lose everything that you just done worked for. So do that in time, which, is so funny. If I never thought about just doing things when they come to me, I probably wouldn't have ever renewed that fee, because I have not just that in general, but just things like paying my car payment. Like when I had gotten my car repoed, I was literally trying to have them keep it instead of like having to deal with all the issues that were going to come with that. And I was just like, nope, I'm good. Keep the car. I'm over it. And that's how a lot of things in my life were up until doing all this like mindset work. So the deeper we get into these books, I swear. All right. And that's a little bit about my life. Law number 36 is disdain. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignore them is the best revenge. By acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence. You give it credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him. And a small mistake is often made worse and more visible when you try to fix it. It is sometimes best to leave things alone. If there is something you want but cannot have, show contempt for it. I need my glasses, but they're in the car and I don't have the car. So we're going with it. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. This one reminded me of like bullies. You know how they tell bullies, like, don't, like, you just ignore them, don't feed into it, and they'll leave you alone. Kind of like that, right? The key to this power is desire often creates a type of effect that the more you want something, the more you will chase after it, and the more that it excites you. Turn your back on what you want, show your contempt and disdain. This kind of response drives your targets usually crazy. They will respond with a desire of their own, which is simply to have an effect on you. Contempt is the priority of the king. Commitment and engagement often weakens you. By paying undue attention to an enemy, you will then look punny, you will then look like putty, and the longer it will take to crush your enemy. But if you seem to weaken him, then you will be larger than your enemy. And if you succeed in crushing your enemy, you create sympathy for a different side. Again, creating more power to this law. Jeez, I'll get there. Law number 37. Oh my gosh, Ashley. Is it a Monday or is it a Monday, guys? Create a compelling spectacle. Striking, imaginary, and grand symbolic gestures create the aurora of power. Everyone responds. It is a Monday, I'll tell you. Okay, good. I'm glad everybody else in the chat's feeling it. Everyone responds to them. Stage spectacles around you. Wait, stage spectacles for those around you, then full of arresting visuals and radiant symbols that heightens your presence. Dazzle your appearance. This reminds me of like clothing, right? Like people put clothing into a facade. I remember in high school, I wore all black. I would only wear this Green Day sweater, and everybody in high school literally remembers me for that Green Day sweater. But let me tell you guys what, it's because I did not like my body that I was like trying to hide it. So it was an illusion. At least I thought it was, but that's not what I'm known for, is that like Green Day sweater, which is so crazy. I didn't really like Green Day that much. It was just the American Idiot type of situation. I really like that song. Anyways, keys to this power. The visual can strike us with an emotional power and intimacy that leave no gaps for reflections and doubt. Words put you on defense. The image imposes itself as a given. The symbol has the same force. Never neglect the way you arrange these visuals, factors that color. Never neglect the way that you arrange these visual factors like color have enormous symbolic renaissance. You guys, it is a Monday. I'm over it. All right, so that was basically that one. We're moving on to law number 28, which we're busting through these. Actually, I think we're going a lot faster than I thought I was going. Because it isn't that bad of a Monday. We get to make our own Mondays around here. Law number 38, think as you like, but behave like others. If you make a show of going against times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. They will find a way to punish you and make them feel inferior. It is safer to blend in and nurture the common touch. Share the originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness. So freaking true. Find your tribe. And that was basically what I got from that one. Find your people and run with that. Like, don't tell, like they say, like, don't tell your like deepest desires and secrets and wants and everything like that to people who it wasn't meant for, you know? I hear that all the time, actually, which that's what I resonate with this. So the key to that power is when all tell lies and hide our true feelings for a complete manic Monday. I feel this. Now I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head. Okay, hold on, let me repeat this. We all tell lies and hide our true feelings for complete free expression and social impossibility. There are people who see such resistance as intolerable in fragments on their freedom and who have need to prove the superiority. I really can't talk today. Who have a need to prove they're superior of their values and beliefs. In the end, their arguments convince only a few and offend more. The real arguments do not work. That is, most people hold their ideas and values without thinking about them. True, right? You don't even think about your values. It's like our habits. So when you're thinking about how you're treating people and how you want to do things, you kind of have to have I got all red real quick, but it is really irritated. Sorry. You have to think about like your values and not think about like the actions that come with that, because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you're not doing it for attention, right? That's kind of what I got from that. Sorry, something is really in my eye though. It might be an eyelash because it stings. Anywho, Eye Smooth will take care of all of that redness and puffiness that I'm like irritating my eye with. So we'll keep it pushing, guys. All right. So basically with this law too, the wise and clever people learn early on that they can display controversial behavior and mouth controversial ideas without having to believe in them. So like having the conversation without having to like deeply believe in something. Like I'm open to having any kind of conversation and I can believe what I want to believe. You can believe what you want to believe. And that isn't going to change me treating you any type of different. You know, I'm still going to be the same type of person that I am. And I'm not going to think of you any type of different. I mean, unless like you're doing weird things, you know, like there's lines. Okay. I will then call you out, but I'm also that friend. So, you know, you get what you get with me. So law 39 is stir up the waters to catch the fish. Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive. You must always stay calm and objective. But if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you can gain advantage. Put your enemies off balance. Find the little kink in what makes them tick and rattle them up, right? So that you can hold the strings and like do like the little puppeteer thing. Which, let me tell you what, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do this and I know I'm about to like do this and I kind of smirk because I'm like, you just really put yourself in a corner, baby. And I can't help you now. Sorry, but you're not going to upset me on that. And I used to get so angry, like I couldn't control my own emotions, to be honest with you guys. So I really felt like number 39 was like calling at me. I couldn't control my own emotions for a very long time. You can ask anybody in my family. So I almost give them the right to act the way they act towards me because I gave them 30 years of acting a little bit crazy myself with my anger. So the key to this power is anger is not power, but a sign of helplessness. People may temporarily be cowed by tantrums, but in the end, they lose respect for you. They also realize they can easily undermine a person who has little self-control. The answer is not to repress our anger or our emotional response. It is to change our perspective. That is nothing in the social and power realm of being personal. Anger cuts off our options and are powerful, and the powerful cannot thrive without options. Once you have trained yourself to not take things personal, you can play with the emotional responses of others. So you all should be reading, and if you have not read, what am I going to say? The 4 agreements. All right. Okay. In the face of hot-headed enemies, an excellent response is no response. Nothing is almost as infuriating. So sometimes saying nothing is keeping in control as well, learning to walk away. I'm going to pass it over to Hannah so she can do laws 40 to 45, and then I'm going to pick it up at 46 and then finish it off with you guys. And then we could talk about the next book, what it's going to be. And then we'll close it off where we can talk about just what our takeaways from the book and all that fun stuff. So Hannah, go ahead. I'm going to mute myself. So can you unmute yourself? Oh, you're dead.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Hello. Great job. Okay. I'm so glad you ended on that one as you were talking about it. That's one that I definitely wrestle with. I love when I see these powers, these laws of power, how they've been reflected in my own life. It helps me to understand situations. My dad is someone who lost and still loses his temper very easily, and he feels like he gains power through yelling and doing whatever he does, intimidation tactics. And yeah, I have lost so much respect for him, and I don't think he has power. You know, taking back power for me meant a lot, and not repeating that cycle means a lot to me too. So I definitely resonate with that one. Anyways, law number 40 is called Despise the free lunch. It says, what is offered for free is dangerous. It usually involves a trick or a hidden obligation. What has worth is worth paying for. By paying your way, you stay clear of gratitude, guilt, and deceit. It is often wise to pay the full price. There is no cutting corners with excellence. And so I think that's just like being impeccable. Like there's no roundabout way, you know. And I definitely can relate to this one too, because this is a law that's talking about money. It's wise to pay the full price. There's no cutting corners. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating, for generosity is a sign and magnet for power. In the realm of power, everything must be judged by its cost, for everything has price. What is offered for free or for a bargain often comes with a psychological price. complicated feelings of obligation, compromises with quality, insecurity, etc. So the powerful learn to protect the most valuable resources, which is your independence. So when you feel like you owe something to someone, you're no longer able to move freely. So there's different ways that you can recognize these 4 types and avoid them and use them. So as you go throughout life, you're going to come into contact with people who are offering things. And these are the different types of people. So number 1 is the greedy fish. So they take the human side out of money. They view people solely as pawns and objects for wealth. If you've ever met someone like that. Number 2, the bargain demon. So they waste their time digging for bargains, worry endlessly about what they could have gotten elsewhere for a little bit more. They might seem to only hard themselves. Their attitudes are contagious. So these are people who are always like looking for a bargain. Honestly, I kind of like resonated with that one. He goes into talking about how sometimes paying for things that are nicer and full price can get you further, because when you're paying for things for a bargain or you're looking for an easy way, they don't last anymore and you have to replace them, like physical things and like metaphorically. You might run into the sadists. They play vicious power games with money as a way of asserting their power. If you've ever been in a situation with someone, like an abuseful situation where they use money to control you, this is a sadist. Or the indiscriminate giver. So they're generous because they want to be loved. So they like buy friends by being generous. It's not truly generous from their heart. It's like a needy generosity. So this, for you, the reversal is that this law offers great opportunities for swindling and deception. So you can apply them from the other side. I suppose if we're talking about like the business, sometimes there is a double side to things too. It feels like it's like a free mentorship, but it's always a give and take relationship. So just being aware of what you get into in those situations, because you don't want to owe anyone anything, like between the lines of business and friendship. Law 41 is to avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. So that's saying they went into this big story about being like the son of a great man, and I thought this was super interesting. If you are somebody who came from nothing and you worked your way up into a place of power, like they give example of a king, right? A king who was born from dirt, and worked his way up, and he was a common person, and then all of a sudden he worked so hard and he became a king, but then he has a son, right? And he tries to give the same lessons to the son, but the son is not coming out of the same circumstance. Even though he's your son, he's literally in a completely different circumstance. Yes, Ashley, working hard, double time. So it's like you have to be careful as a parent, or even like as the child of someone who's doing well. Sometimes it's harder because you have big shoes to fill. So just being careful to like kind of pave your own way is what I got from that one. Let's see. I'm gonna just keep going. Law number 42 talks about striking the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. So they told a story about this town, and in the town they would vote one person out each year who they didn't like. So instead of like stoning someone to death, they would just like vote them out of the town, and they were banned for the rest of their life. And that's because they found out that it was easier to get rid of the one person who was like going against the grain or causing trouble, because in that way a lot of people are following one person of influence. So if there's somebody who's like contaminating your business or contaminating your life and they have a really strong negative pull, if you can weed out the one person who is like dragging you or whatever your organization down, that can be really helpful rather than like trying to focus on everybody or feeling like it's everything. It says trouble can often be traced to a strong individual. The stir is someone who's stirring the pot. If you allow that person to operate underneath you, other people will succumb to their influence. So you don't want to wait for the troubles to multiply. If you notice that somebody is trying to go against you, it's important to take quick action. Let's see. Law number 43, work on the hearts and minds of others. Coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. So rather than trying to coerce people to do what you want them to do, it's important to really get to know people, get to know what they want in their heart, get to know what drives them, get to get inside of their mind and have conversations with them. You don't want to move people in directions that they don't want to go to, or it's always going to be like you're working uphill. It's important to understand what they want and need. A great way to seduce others is to operate on their individual psychologies or weaknesses. So you can soften up the resistance by working on their emotions. I think that all of us know a story that incites emotions in others is a great way to get people on your side. Showing vulnerability and sharing about a story that's happened in your life is a great way for people to connect to you. So I think that we see that power in work all the time, this law in work all the time. It says, in the game of power, you are surrounded by people who have absolutely no reason to help you unless it is in their self-interest. So finding out ways that it benefits them for their own self-interest, it's like an energy exchange. The key to persuasion is softening people up and breaking them down gently. Work on their emotions and play on their intellectual weaknesses. Be alert to both what separates them from everyone else and what they share with everyone else. The quickest way to secure people's mind is demonstrating how an action will benefit them. So no matter what, people are always thinking about how a situation can benefit them. So taking that into consideration is a great way to secure power. Law number 44 is called Disarm and Infuriate with the Mirror Effect. I loved this law. I really wanted to share this law because I learned a lot through it, and I've seen this law in action a lot as a teacher. So the mirror effect, the mirror reflects reality, but it is also the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. The mirror effect mocks and humiliates them, making them overreact. So that's one way. By holding up a mirror to their psyche, you can seduce them with the illusion that you share their values. So this is talking about, well, okay, hold on. It'll get into it better. Good. So it's talking about different ways that you can mirror the way that people act in order to control them. And there's different ways that you can use this mirror effect. And they talked about how parents and teachers probably use this mirror effect all the time. And I definitely know that I do. So number one, by neutralizing effect. So do what your enemies do. You're following their actions, mirroring their actions exactly as best as you can. So they don't really know what you're up to because you're not doing anything different than they're doing. You know, you're just kind of staying in their shadow. And so then it is just hard for them to really understand what's going on. Number two, the narcissism effect. So you look deep into the souls of other people, you fathom their innermost desires, their values, their taste, and their spirits, and you reflect them back to them. So he says, everybody is narcissistic in some way or another. Everybody's world is literally their perception. Like we're the center of our own world. And so by figuring out exactly what somebody wants to hear or what they need, you can give it right back to them. And be in control. Number three, the moral effect. So rather than using your words and telling somebody that they hurt you, you can do the same actions back. You can give them a taste of their own medicine and teach them a lesson, and they can learn a lesson better through your actions than through your words. This is a good one to use with kids. You can tell them a million times not to do something, but until they have like a consequence, like sometimes it's just a natural consequence that you have to let happen or let, you know, as a teacher, I'm like, okay, they literally just did the same thing to you that you did to them. Did that feel good? No. Okay. Then we can get further by having the conversation that way. So it works with kids, but adults. So you mirror what other people have done to you, and you do it in a way that makes them realize what they were doing is exactly what you did to them is exactly what they did to you, so that they can learn a lesson without you ever even having to say anything. Number four is the hallucinatory effect. So you create a perfect copy of an object, a place, or a person. I don't really understand this one. I'm going to keep going. And then they also say just to beware of situations that you feel like are being mirrored back at you. Like you might think that you've seen this situation before. You might feel like a new situation you're in is mirroring a situation you've been in. It's important to be careful and fully make sure you understand situations and don't assume that you know how it's going to play out because you've been through it. That way you make simple errors. and then you don't learn a full lesson from it either. All right, this is the last one that I'm going to go over. This is law number 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. This is so, so true. If you're trying to make a big change and you go in, you try to change everything and do things your own way, people are going to be resistant. Human nature is to be resistant to change. And it's really important to be smart about the way that you try to incite change, especially if it's big changes, because even if it's a great change, humans are naturally going to fight against it. Everyone understands the need for change in the abstract, but when it comes to the day-to-day level, people are really creatures of habit. We know this to the good and the bad, that we're creatures of habit. We can use that for our own like success, or it can work against us, you know, because like to be innovative and to do so much change can be traumatic for people. And in the big scheme, it can lead to a revolt. I wanted to talk about this one because I went to Costa Rica 5 years ago, maybe, and I went to the United Nations. It's a university. It's put on by the UN. It's called the Peace University. And I took a class on change management, and I was one of the only people there that weren't from a company. So companies send their higher ups to this professional development workshop so that they can learn how to work people through change, because they're afraid that if they try to make these really big changes within companies without training the managers or whatever on how to handle the people who are going to be pushing back against the change, then they're going to have a revolt or they're not going to have success. And I thought that was really cool that businesses take that into consideration, at least in Costa Rica, they do. I don't know if in America people care as much. They don't really take care of their employees, but that's another issue for another day. Let's see. If you are new to a position of power, or if you're an outsider trying to build a power base, it's important to make sure that you're showing respect of the old ways. You don't want to go in and disrespect the ways that people have done it in the past. If you do it in a disrespectful way, people are going to push back, especially regardless of whether or not it's a good change. You have to make sure that you're being respectful about the way you go about it. And if change is necessary, you want to make it feel like an improvement on the past. We're not changing everything that we've done in the past. We're just changing a little bit here or there. And eventually, like, you can totally transform everything, but you can only move a tiny bit at a time. Let me make sure that there's not anything else I wanted to add that one. Another strategy to disguise change is to make it loud and a public display of support or values from the past. So you can make it like this big, like, deal that you're trying to tribute to the people in the past or the way that we've done things or whatever. And through a big gesture, you can also win people over to a change. All right, I think that's where I'm going to end, Ashley. And then you can pick it up on 46. We're almost done.
Perfect. Okay. I was just closing one of my new clients in. So I love how everything's just so easy. All right. So law number 46, never appear too perfect. Appearing better than others is always dangerous, but most dangerous of all is to appear to have no faults or weaknesses. Envy creates silent enemies. It is smart to occasionally display defects and admit to harmless vices. In order to deflect envy and appear more human and approachable, only gods and the dead can seem perfect when impudent. The human, or the key to this power, the human has a hard time dealing with feelings of being inferior. In the face of superior skill, talent, or power, we often distribute or ill at ease because most of us have an inflate a sense of ourself, ego. We meet people who surpass us. They make it clear to us that they are in fact mediocre. We feel envy, ego. Okay, that's basically was that. Let me go make sure I didn't go over any of my notes that I didn't miss. Understand that you gain power. For those below, you feel envious of you. Expect that when people envy you, they will work against you as hard as possible, sometimes even getting more enemies to power up and try to take you down. Okay, yeah, so that's basically what I took from that one. Law 47 was do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Wow. Anybody gamble too much? Won a really big jackpot and just kept going? That's me. Okay. The moment of victory, sorry, I'm getting Vegas ready. The moment of victory is often the moment of greatest, the moment of victory is the moment of the greatest peril. In the heat of victory, arrogance and overconfidence can push you past the goal you have aimed for. And by going too far, you make more enemies than you defeat. Do not allow success to go to your head. There is no substitute for strategy and careful planning. Set a goal, and when you reach it, stop. I guess that's kind of true. The powerful vary their rhythms and patterns, change course, adapt to the circumstance, and learn to improvise. Rather than letting their dancing feet impel them forward, they step back and look where they are going. Luck and circumstance always play a role in power. Bad luck teaches valuable lessons about patience, timing, and the need to be prepared for the worst. Good luck deludes you into the opposite lesson, making you think your brilliance will carry you through. The last law, Law 48, assume formlessness. By taking a shape, by having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead of taking a form for your enemy to grasp, keep yourself adaptable and on the move. Accept the fact that nothing is certain and no law is fixed. Yeah, the nothing is certain and no law is fixed. The best way to protect yourself is to be fluid and formless as water. Never bet on stability or lasting order. Everything changes. The key to this power, the powerful are often people who in their youth have shown immense creativity in expressing something new through a new form. Society grants them power because it hungers for and rewards this sort of newness. I think that's it. I know I got one more. Learning to adapt to each new circumstance means seeing events through your own eyes and often ignoring the advice that people constantly peddle your way. It means ultimately you must throw out the laws that others preach, the books they write to tell you what to do, and the sage advice of your elders. Relying too much on other people's ideas, you end up taking form of their ideas and not your own. Too much that you're starting to take form of something else. So read all these books, take all advice, but I think that's kind of what we were talking about before on the side after we had closed, me and Sarah, and I think even Hannah, was like, yeah, some of these laws are like serious, like they were kind of freaking us out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, like we're not that evil, but take it with a grain of salt. Like there's probably going to be an instant in your life where you're going to be like, I kind of need to use this just to like get out of this certain situation. It's not necessarily overpowering the world. It could be just overpowering your situation that you're in, and that's kind of what I was taking from these laws. And I'm really, really grateful that you guys were all here for that. And if you're rewatching this, I do appreciate that. The next book that we're going to be starting on April 6th, cannot believe it's already April. April 6th is going to be the 12 Rules of Life. I forgot the author's name. Hold on. 12 Rules of Life. Where is it? There it is. The 12 Rules of Life, The Antidote to Chaos, Jordan B. Peterson. I have the PDF for free as well as the Audible for you guys to listen in on. We're going to be meeting, when is it? 3 times? I got it written down, so hold on. All right, we are going to be meeting 3 times in April, and they are going to be 3 read-alongs, excuse me, 3 read-alongs and 3 reviews. So April 6th, April 15th, April the 20th are going to be our read-alongs. April the 10th April the 17th and April the 24th are going to be our dates of reviews of chapters. I'm going to go ahead and pin all of those as well, and it will be a reoccurring link. If you guys have any questions about anything, you already know, let me know and I can help you guys out. And I'm going to stop the recording so we can kind of chit chat about it. Okay, so one moment.